When I say the word Satanism, what comes to mind for you? If I follow along with popular thought, then I can bet you're getting some pretty scary visions. However, you would be surprised to learn that Satanism, for the majority of followers, is not about any of those scary images that just came to mind. The primary inventor of atheistic Satanism was former circus performer Anton LaVey, who created the Church of Satan in 1966. Because of growing interest in the occult in California during that era, LaVey attracted media attention to his new cult. Among those to join his church were the actress Jane Mansfield, entertainer Sammy Davis Jr., and hairstylist and Manson family murder victim Jay Sebring. In 1969, LaVey published the Satanic Bible, a quasi-scripture that outlined his religious beliefs. Alright, let's talk about modern Satanism. Modern Satanism refers to the religious, philosophical, and ideological movements that self-identify using the term Satan or Satanism and associate themselves with Satan, whether as a metaphor, a dark force, or an individual entity. The beginning of modern Satanism is generally attributed to the late 1960s. The three major trends within the movement are theistic or religious Satanism, atheistic or philosophical Satanism, and reactive or adolescent Satanism. So let's get into a little bit about these different types. Bringing us to fact number 8, we're going to start with theistic Satanists. Theistic Satanists believe Satan is one of a group of supra-personal dark forces capable of having some control or influence over human beings and who venerate, worship, or align with him. A prime example is the Order of Nine Angels, an occult group created in the 1960s in the UK whose members strive to become one with Satan and other dark forces and seek to create new, more highly evolved individuals. Even within occultism, theistic Satanists are extremely rare. Researchers estimate their global numbers to be in the low thousands. So that's a bit reassuring. Moving on to atheistic Satanism. Atheistic Satanism does not acknowledge the existence of either God or Satan. What they identify with is Satan as a symbolic adversary of religion and traditional morality. As Time magazine wrote in 1972, they invoke Satan not as a supernatural being, but as a symbol of man's self-gratifying ego, which is what they really worship. The Church of Satan explains their view by saying, "We see the universe as being indifferent to us, and so all morals and values are subjective human constructions. Our position is to be self-centered, with ourselves being the most important person or the God of our subjective universe. So we are sometimes said to worship ourselves." Alright, and now let's look at reactive Satanism. The German historian of religions, Joachim Schmidt, coined the term reactive Satanism to refer to groups who adopt the Satan portrayed in Judaism and Christianity as a figure of veneration to invert the values of those religions. As Catherine Bayer explains, Satan is still an evil god as defined in Christianity, but one to be worshipped rather than shunned and feared. These types of Satanists often adopt the self-identification of Satanism as an act of adolescent rebellion against parents or society.
The KAKURE Kirishitans are Japan's secret Christians. After the Tokugawa shogunate banned their religion, the followers took cover and hid their presence as much as possible. KAKURE Kirishitans, they remained hidden for hundreds of years, and even after the persecution ban was lifted in 1873. Developing in the shadows, this religion formed into a fusion of Catholicism as well as Shintoism and Buddhism. Yeah, pretty interesting mix there. They got rid of their relics, they disguised Mary and Jesus as Buddhas, and they covered up prayers as being chants. So they had to get pretty crafty in their methods. However, they still retained their original Latin Christian music and songs originally associated with the religion when it was first introduced. Alawites come in next. This is a secretive sect of Islam that dates back to the 9th century. The followers worship Muhammad's son-in-law Ali as a god, and they deny women having souls, and also they believe in reincarnation. Sunni Muslims, now they look at this and consider them to not be Muslim at all. And Alawites are actually accused of using Islam as a front to hide their actual beliefs. Like, for example, fasting means keeping secrets, and pilgrimage is a visit to their sheikhs. So that's very different from how the rest of the Islamic world uses those terms. They say that 1 in 12 Syrians are Alawites, and the president of Syria, whose name is Bashar al-Assad, he is a follower of this sect. The religion at number 8 brings us Candomblé. Candomblé is a popular religion in Brazil, and it mixes Catholicism with the veneration of traditional West African orishas, known as deities or like helper spirits, like lesser gods, whatever term you want to use, that's an orisha. Their god is assisted by lesser spirits as well as assisted by personal guide spirits. However, they do not believe in good and evil, rather they believe in personal destiny. Since the 1970s, when the ban on public gatherings without police permission was lifted, people started identifying more with this religion. And over the years, evangelical Christianity has been growing a lot in Brazil, and to combat the political influence of those Christians, some followers of Candomblé created a Candomblé political party known as the PPLE, the Party for Freedom of Expression. They do not want to be viewed as devil worshippers, but they want to be considered as legit as any other religion, and they aim to keep their African-derived religious traditions alive. Next up, at number 7, we have the religion Yazidi. Numbering about 700,000 in the entire world, the Yazidi are so secretive that many of its beliefs, they're not even known by their followers. Their holy books are hidden from the lay people, and when you're initiated, you have to promise to never reveal the Yazidi secrets. After centuries of persecution, the Yazidi are very cautious when it comes to outsiders, understandably. Under the rule of the Ottoman Empire, they actually faced 72 different genocides. They practice things such as baptism, they pray 3 times a day, but when they pray, they face towards the sun rather than Mecca like the Muslims do. Santeria is at number 6. Santeria, which stands for the Way of the Saints, was brought to Cuba by slaves. It developed in the 18th century, mainly among the Yoruba people of Nigeria, who use Catholic saints as analogs, present their orishas, which are the semi-divine spirits like I mentioned earlier. For centuries, Santeria was condemned, and centuries of persecution and oppression sent the religion into hiding. The faith owes its survival to its rich oral tradition, which has them pass it down from one generation to another. Beliefs and preconceived notions about what voodoo is varies based on who you speak to. But is there more to voodoo than what is commonly portrayed in the media and pop culture? Well, the short answer is yes. Well, it is a religion that's practiced in Haiti, and it's also a creolized religion forged by descendants of the Dahomey, Congo, Yoruba, and other African ethnic groups who had been enslaved and brought to colonial Saint-Domingue, which is now known as Haiti. It is thought to be a combination of various African, Catholic, and Native American traditions, and it's practiced around the world, but there is no accurate count of how many people practice voodoo. There are, however, 3 main types of voodoo. There's Haitian voodoo, Louisiana voodoo, and West African voodoo. Although, yes, there are some other classifications of voodoo. And when it comes to the specific word, well, that word means spirit or deity in the Fon language of the African kingdom of Dahomey, which is now known as the country of
Benin. The fundamental principle in voodoo is that everything is spirit. Humans are spirits who inhabit the visible world. The unseen world is populated by the Loa, which means spirits. Also the Mystère, which is a mystery. It's also inhabited by the Invisible, or the invisibles, and the Zanj, known as the angels. These spirits can also be spirits of ancestors and those who recently passed away. For fact number 8, the primary goal and activity of voodoo is to servir Loa, serve the spirits. And this is done by offering prayers and performing various devotional rites that are directed at God and particular spirits in return for health, protection, and other favors and blessings. Spirit possession also plays a very important role in the Afro-Haitian voodoo. This is a popular belief also shared in the Abrahamic religions and other religions in different parts of the world. During these religious rites, believers sometimes enter a trance-like state in which the person may eat and drink and perform different dances, and also give supernaturally inspired advice to other people and perform different medical cures and other physical acts. Now, these acts are based on the manifested presence of the Loa within the person who is possessed. Now, contrary to what many people believe, according to the voodoo tradition, there is one supreme god who is known by different names in different parts of the world. In Haiti, for example, God is referred to as Bon Dieu, and this comes from the French Bon Dieu, meaning good God. But regardless of which name people use for God, the primary God is immensely powerful and beyond the reach of ordinary followers. So for this reason, voodoo practitioners, they really have to rely on hundreds of thousands of other spirits to communicate with God. Moving on to fact number 6, part of the voodoo belief is that the Loa communicate with followers through possession, like I alluded to in the previous facts. The Loa temporarily displaces the soul of its host person, also known as a medium, and takes control of the medium's body. According to this belief, the medium cannot feel pain or become injured while they are possessed. The Loa speaks through the medium, often giving instructions and advice, prophecies of future events, and sometimes the Loa rebukes the followers for failing to perform their duties to the best of their ability. Also, one thing to note is that in some voodoo traditions, a few select people have the privilege of becoming possessed. In others, the Loa may choose to possess anyone at any time. Wicca is actually a religion that can be traced back to the 1940s and 1950s in England to a man named Gerald Brusso Gardner. After a period of time working across Asia, he published the book Witchcraft Today in 1954, and then he started a movement based on pre-Christian traditions with 3 main pillars. And those pillars were magic, respect for nature, and worship of the goddesses and other deities. The word Wicca can be traced back to the year 1970 to 1975 with roots on its Old English term meaning male sorcerer. Now, the Old English term Wicca is also the origin of the word witch. Now, one very important thing to note is that paganism, Wicca, and witchcraft aren't interchangeable terms as mainstream media sometimes tends to lead people to believe. Wicca and all of the subsets are pagan, but not all pagans are Wiccan. Many pagans, including Wiccans, choose to practice witchcraft, but not all of them do so. So one may choose to look at witchcraft as a tool as opposed to a religious ritual or religious practice. Now, another important aspect of Wiccan beliefs is the set of 4 or 5 elements of nature. Some hold to the earlier Greek conception of the classical elements, air, fire, water, earth, while others recognize 5 elements in total: air, fire, water, earth, and spirit, also known as Akasha. Some see the points of the pentagram symbol as representing the 5 elements. We'll be talking more about the pentagram a bit later on in this episode, so stay tuned for that. The elements are commonly invoked at the beginning of rituals or used in their physical forms to symbolically purify the ritual circle. Each element has associated symbols, rituals, and meanings assigned to them as well. This next one was pretty interesting. Making sure that words rhyme in a spell is actually pretty important. The philosophy of this comes from the Wiccan Rede, which is a statement of Wiccan beliefs, which says this, and I quote, "To bind the spell every time, let the spell be spake in rhyme." It is also encouraged for a witch to write their own original rhyming spells, just so that they can personalize it for exactly what they are seeking to do. The next fact involves karma and the afterlife. For many Wiccans, the idea of karma and the afterlife is a valid one, although the Neo-Wiccan view of karma is very different from the traditional Eastern view. And the belief is that what we do in this lifetime will be revisited on us in the next life. Part of the idea of a cosmic payback system is also shared in the law of threefold return, or the rule of three in Wicca. But generally speaking, Wicca does not embrace the concept of sin, heaven, or hell.